Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He had 4 children with his family. Martin Luther King Jr. died on April 15, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. She died at age 39. When Martin was a kid, he always played baseball. He played with white kids and their parents didn't let them. The white parents never let their children play with blacks. When he grew up, he was a minister. When he was working one day, someone burned Martin's house. His wife and daughter weren't there. He was scared to leave home because something else might happen to his family.
Martin Luther King Jr. changed his name from Michael King to Martin Luther King in 1931, and he was just 12 years old at that time. He went to a trip to Germany. Martin Luther King tried to commit suicide because in May his grandma had passed away. He got arrested about 30 times. Martin Luther King's mom's name is Alberta, and Martin Luther King's dad is Martin Luther King Sr. Between 1957 and 1968, he traveled more than 6 million miles and spoke at more than 2,500 events. In 1963, he became the first African American to be named Time Magazine's Man of the Year. At the age of 31, he became the youngest man to have been honored with the Nobel Peace Prize. He donated the prize money of $54,123 to benefit the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King had 4 kids and a wife.
I picked this picture because this is a picture when he was giving his speech, and Martin Luther King Jr. was trying to support Rosa Parks during the bus situation.
And I put this picture because he always said to believe in yourself. I put this picture to remind people of his memory when he died.
Excellent job. Very good.
What was the most interesting thing you got?
September 12, 1913 in Oakville, Alabama. Died March 31st, 1980. He went to the Olympics and won 4 gold medals and also beat the world record. They called him the bucket bully because he was very fast. Jesse Owens' parents were Henry and Emma. He had 6 brothers and sisters, 3 boys and 3 girls. He had kids. They were all girls. Their names were Gloria, Beverly, and Molly.
Jesse Owens' stunning achievement of 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin has made him the best remembered athlete in Olympic history.
After a stellar high school career, he attended Ohio State University on May 25, 1935. At the Big Ten Conference competitions in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Jesse Owens, grandson of a sharecropper and a grandson of a slave, achieved what no Olympian before him had accomplished.
His success at the 1933 Big Ten Championship gave him the confidence that he was ready to excel at the highest level. Jesse entered the Olympics in 1936, which were in Germany, amidst the belief by Hitler that game.
Jesse Owens broke 3 world records: long jump, 220-yard dash, and 220-yard row hurdles, and tied on a rope. 100-yard dash, all in a 40-minute span. Find the good is all around you. Find it, showcase it, and you'll start believing it. 1 chance is all you need.
I took this picture to show you guys how he looks.
I chose this picture because this is when he was fighting with Hitler during the games. And I chose this picture because he was racing Olympics.
At birth, her parents gave her the name Armida Harriet Ross, but the slave master renamed her. Her name was Harriet Ross. She married John Tubman. She got divorced. She had a daughter named Gertie Tubman.
When she turned 12, her job was to tie up the other slaves. Often the slaves escaped, but were later caught and had to face consequences, being whipped. Harriet was ordered to tie them up and get them ready to get whipped. She often refused, so she was hit in the head with a brick. She was unconscious for days.
When Harriet Tubman escaped slavery, she became the conductor of the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad saved over 300 slaves' lives. We thank her for her bravery. She knows how dangerous that was. The Underground Railroad worked very well. Soon Harriet died in 1913. She was born a slave but soon escaped. She was the conductor of the Underground Railroad. When she was 12 years old, her job was to tie up other slaves.
Harriet was born 1820 and died 1913. Harriet Ross is her maiden name. She married John Tubman.
I picked these two pictures to show how she looked back in the day. The train is because she worked on the Underground Railroad. And this is her with messed up clothes because she didn't have nice clothes. And then she's carrying a lantern because it was very dark in the Underground Railroad. And she has a weapon because she always carried a weapon with her so that she could protect herself from if somebody found her.
Mother sent to a mental facility after a nervous breakdown. This really affected him. Then being placed from foster home was hard for him. He then became addicted to drugs and was celibate. He was caught one night, then was sentenced 10 years to prison at the age of 21.
After being sentenced 10 years and only serving 6 years, changed him. Once he got out of jail, he became a minister and joined the NOI, where he also met his wife. He recruited the letter X to his name, meaning an unknown heritage. He soon became visible to the NOI because one of his dynamic speeches and obvious charm reached the national audience when CBS recorded it. Malcolm X had became a national figure and the face of the NOI. Malcolm X's philosophies had changed dramatically, bringing him more in line with the mainstream civil rights movement. But he still had enemies. Many people in the NOI felt that he had betrayed the movement. Malcolm X took his last speech February 21st, 1965. Once he took a stop at the podium, a smoke bomb exploded. While it was being put out, 3 NOI members stood up and shot Malcolm X 15 times. He was pronounced dead 2 minutes later.
We chose this picture to show how his house had burned down. Malcolm X's house burned down in Lansing, Michigan by the Black Logan, a white racist group.
This picture shows a picture of Malcolm X, and Malcolm X lived in foster home since the age of 7. He didn't have a choice because his dad died and his mother was sent to a mental facility. This picture is when Malcolm X is giving one of his famous speeches. One of Malcolm X's famous speech was given February 1965. It was named By Any Means Necessary. Malcolm X was sentenced 10 years to prison because he was a criminal and sold drugs. The drugs took over him once he became a shoe shiner.
When he became an activist, when he got out of prison, he tried to gain back his trust. He became an activist for the NOI. He met his wife through the NOI. The NOI helped him gain his trust back and earned him a wife.
But what was the most interesting thing to you guys about Malcolm X?
The most interesting thing was how hard his life was when he was a child and then became a national figure.
So what makes him so important to remember during Black History Month, in your opinion?
we think he is important because he was one of the reasons why our schools and communities are not segregated and we can come together as one.
So do you think that today's society would be the same if Malcolm X never worked for the changes that he made?
No, I think life would be different because if we didn't have people like Malcolm X, we would have been separated as well.
Awesome. Any other questions for them?
Born on January 31st, 1990. He grew up in a white neighborhood. They called the cops on him when he was skating because they said the skates were too loud. In college, he did multiple sports, including basketball, football, and track.
Jackie Robinson was the first African American in MLB history. If he hadn't gone into the MLB, it might have still been an all-white game. People was calling him names, but that didn't stop him, and he still fought and replayed his honors. Even though he got death letters, he still didn't let that stop him. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier on April 15, 1947. He is an important piece to Black history and American history. We picked Jackie Robinson not only for his talent but for his bravery to open the door for African American sports. For Black History Month, Jackie Robinson is our American hero. Now we're going to read some of the quotes that Jackie Robinson said. He said, "It kills me to lose. I'm a troublemaker, and I don't think my temper makes me one. It's because I can't stand losing. That's the way I am about winning. All I ever wanted to do was to finish first.
Above anything else, I hate to lose.
Baseball is like a poker game. Nobody wants to quit when he's losing. Nobody wants to quit when you're winning.
But as long as I write these words, now I cannot stand and sing the national anthem. I have to learn that I have to have the remainder of Black in the white world.
Life is not important except the impact it has on other lives.
I'm not concerned with you liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being.
Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life.